Hello everyone, welcome along to the latest of our Adobe Skills Lab webinars this morning. And today we're going to be looking at templates and brands within Adobe Express. Now, I've certainly found that this has been one of the features that has been quite widely used, and that people, once they learn about it, they really do see that it's a really useful one. So I hope everyone's had a nice Easter break and you've had lots of Easter eggs or whatever else you chose to do, and are feeling ready to get back into the working week. Because I think this will be a great start for you. So today, my colleague Louise is going to be presenting, and so I'll pass over to Louise. Good morning, Louise.
Good morning, Alistair, and welcome everyone. As Alistair said, I hope everyone had a lovely break. So as Alistair said today, we're going to focus on brands and templates in Adobe Express, and I'll be focusing mostly on how to create those templates in Express, and then how to lock certain aspects of those templates, and then fundamentally, how do we then share them out to colleagues or students. So one thing I would say is when we talk about Express brands, we can't forget about Creative Cloud libraries, or as we call these, CC libraries. Now, we don't have time today to cover all of that in full, so we won't dive into CC libraries today because we just don't have the time and we want to focus this on Express. But please know that, CC libraries is a little bit like the brands area within Express, but it sits within our Creative Cloud applications. So it's the same way in which we can collect, organize, share files amongst different applications, and that also includes Express. And this is why there is a little bit of a link between CC libraries and Express brands, because if you have a CC library, you can then make that into a brand kit within Express and kind of share that within your organization as well. So we possibly will cover CC libraries in a future webinar. Get in contact with us if that's something that you would like to see. But that's probably more for those of you who are using the applications, the Creative Cloud applications, or you're more creative. But as I said, today we're going to just primarily focus on brands inside Express, but I will show you where you can access libraries within Express and then make that into a brand kit as well. So we'll show you a little bit of that. Let me just share my screen, and I've got two monitors, so if my eyes are over here, it's just because I'm sharing this screen and I'm trying to look at what I'm doing. So homepage of Express, as always, please follow along. So log into Express if you haven't done so already. If you're anything like me, if I'm not following along and doing it with someone, then I tend to get distracted. So please follow along, and hopefully this will make sense. So on your homepage, you'll see down the left-hand side here, we've got our options for our homepage, which we're on at the moment. We then have your stuff, and then just below that we have brands. Now, we also have templates here as well. So there's different types of templates. There's pre-generated templates from Express, and you can click on these templates, go and search these templates. You can then create your own template off the back of a generated template as well. So there's lots of different options, and we'll go through them today as well. But just on the closing off that topic that we were discussing around CC Creative Cloud libraries, just to sort of mention that and touch on that. So if you go into your stuff, now you might not have these here, but you might have them. And you'll see along the top, you've got your stuff. So these are all your files that you've worked on, and they'll all be here. If you're anything like my disorganization, you may not have folders set up yet. I've got some, but not a lot. You'll then have your different projects that if you're working on with your team or individually. And then you've got this option called libraries here. So if you click on libraries, this is where all of the Creative Cloud libraries that you're part of or have been shared with you will be located. Now, you've got different options here. You can browse other shared libraries within your organisation, but these will bring up the libraries that you've been shared with. And they're very much like a brand kit within Express. They're just owned and managed usually by a creative, and they're managed within the Creative Cloud application. So this is just an example of one that we have been shared with our branding team. So this is general use of art and illustration. So you'll see that this just gives us different options, and it's just lots of illustrations that we can use. So I've not created this. I'm not the owner of this, so I can't go and change anything or edit anything. All I can do is open the bag and take what I need and then close the bag again. I can't change what's in there. That would be done by the creative team in the Creative Cloud applications, but it's just to show you there's different types. Now, if we go back to your stuff, this is all of our files, but let's dive into the topic that we want to cover today, which is the brands. So as I said, if you've created a library, you can create that into a brand kit. So we can maybe cover that in a future session if we want to dive into that in a bit more detail. But going into brands is something that is uniquely in Adobe Express, and very much like our libraries, the brands are essentially kits that you can store, you can manage your sort of visual identity, your elements like logos, fonts, templates that you've created within Express, and then you can share them across your organization or across your students or across colleagues. And then it easily allows you to then apply that brand, be it the font or a color or an asset, to a design directly within Express as well. So instead of having to go and collect all of these different assets every single time you create a poster or a web page or anything else, if you create a brand, you can access it directly from when you're creating something. And again, I'll demonstrate that as well. If you haven't got a brand yet inside your brands, then you can easily just come here and just click Create Brand. And that will allow you to name your brand. So you can just name that. You can save it generally into just your personal storage is absolutely fine. These are other projects that I have set up with other storage options, but personal one or within the organizational storage is absolutely fine. And then you just click Create, and that just essentially creates your brand. And from there, you can then go and add in all of your logos, fonts, colors, anything else, and start to build that brand out. Now, in true demo fashion, I have created one already, and I've just created this as just demo brand. But you'll see on my screen, I have lots and lots and lots of different types of brands shared with different teams and different individuals. But this one here is just one that I have, that I use just for demonstration. So you can see that it categorizes all of your assets into different folders. So I have logos here, I have different color palettes that I want to use, I have different fonts that I've selected, templates that I've created inside Express. And that could be something that I've created from scratch, or found a template that I like and then adapted it, and then created my own template off the back of that. And I'll show you how to do that. And then we also have these assets as well. And these assets are just things like images, graphics, that type of thing. So these can be a mixture of assets that I've downloaded from stock from Express, or just assets that I've maybe created myself inside Express. So it can be a whole mix of different things. And you can see I've had images as well as illustrations. So these are just assets and graphics that you can use. So if I go back to overview, I can then see everything that's there. Now, if you just take your eyes over here to the right hand side of the screen, you can see that here we can click on the add button. So I can go ahead and I can add from here, and I can add more logos, I can add more colors, I can add more fonts. The other way I can do that is just by clicking this plus sign here above my actual folder. So if I click that plus, it takes me to my folders, and I can add more images into what I want to classify as a logo. Same with the colors, I can just plus here, and I can go and get a color palette and change and decide which color I want to add there. And I can just change that, keep adding it on and doing whatever I want to do. No, don't change that. Cancel out of that. There we go. Again, I can add fonts in here, and these will be all the fonts that are preloaded into Express. Now you can see I can add and upload my own font if I have a font that's different to what's there already. And then I can go and search for more fonts as well. But I can just come here and decide, and you'll probably agree there's quite a lot here. But I can go and decide and say, well, actually, I want to continually use this type of font within my projects or within this particular brand, and it'll just go and add that on for me. Templates we'll come back to, and again, assets here as well. If I click here, it'll just take me to my download folders or wherever I want to go to then add in different assets here. So that's how we can add. If I go back up to the top right here, you can see again, we've got the option to add and share individuals, share my brand with individuals. So I can either share it individually with people, or I can share it with a group of individuals. Now, when I have a look at groups, we'll need to dive into this just at the end. There is a way that we can create different groups within our organisation. It usually has to be done by somebody who is an admin on our back-end console. So if you want to have like a group created as a business library, you'll have to contact your IT team and ask them to do that. And if they need any help, they can come to us to get that help as well. But you can also here, you can invite it to everyone in your organisation. So everyone in your organisation will be able to access that. Or you can just invite it to anyone with the link. So that's another way that you can do it as well. So it would create a link to that brand, and then anybody who clicks on that link would be able to access it. So you could then put that link into a Teams channel or wherever it needs to go to. For today's, I'm just going to invite Alistair, who's on the call, because he's my colleague. And because Alistair and I are part of the same organisation, I can just search for him and he will come up, and then I can include him and invite him to my brand. So I can choose whether I want Alistair to view and use. So I don't want him to have editing rights. I don't want him to change anything or add more colours. Just want him to be able to use the assets in my brand. Or I can give him full editing rights here as well. So I'm going to do that, and I'll say, hi, Alistair. If I can spell Alistair's name right, come along and use my brand. And then I can just click invite to edit, and that'll just send an invitation to Alistair, and you'll see it tells me who has access. And then from there, Alistair now has access, so he can come in and start to use my brand and use the assets whenever he's generating or doing anything in Express. So I'll just pause because I'm going to now show you how to use the brand within when you're generating or creating something. But before I do that, I'll just pause to see if we have any questions.
We don't have any questions yet, Louise. I will confirm that I did get the invitation to join the brand, which I've now done. So thank you very much.
Amazing. And then if I just go back, I might have to refresh my screen. I should be able to see that I've shared that brand, and you'll see that if I just turn your eyes here to this brand, Louise's Library brand, you'll see that there's no symbol or logos here because I haven't shared this with anyone yet. But you'll see that here there's like a tiny icon, and there are two people. So if I scroll my mouse over here, I could see who I've shared that with. And again, for this one, this is quite a large brand. So you can see that this has been shared by lots of different people, the Adobe brand, and you can see I've got this little icon with a pencil and a slash through it. So it's view only. I can only use the assets. I'm not able to edit anything in there. And you can see it tells me who that's been shared with. So just, again, these symbols do mean something. And if you just scroll your mouse over, you'll be able to see who you've shared that with and who has access. So that's where you can find your brands. That's where you can edit and start to add to your brands. As I mentioned earlier, we are able to use the brands from within Express when we're creating or generating anything. So let me just go and just create a blank a page to do something. So I'm just going to go and create a square. So how I did that is I just, from within the brands, I just click that blue plus sign. And I'm just going to go to square. Now you could choose anything you like, it's absolutely fine. So I've just got like a blank piece of paper here, so to speak. And again, I'm going to go down to the left-hand side of my screen here, and you'll see I've got my option for brands. So if I click on here, it then opens up all of the different brands that I have access to within Express. And you'll see that my demo brand is just there. So if I click on there, what happens is that opens up my bag, my kit bag, of all of my logos, assets, brands, colors, fonts. So from here, I can just select this and just click on it once, and then it drops that asset into my particular page. So that just allows me to start using that. And again, I can come back and then scroll down and maybe select an asset that I want to use. So I can just click on it, and then again, it will just drop that asset into my page. So it's just a quick and easy way to use assets, find assets, and group them. So again, this could be used with colleagues. So maybe you have a presentation that you want to standardize across your whole department, and you want certain stylized presentations for all of your courses and all of your modules. And you want everyone to have the same type of font and same type of look and feel. So you could create a template presentation and then have a brand that's the branding for your department. So let's say you are teaching business management and you want to have the same business management branding across all of the different content. You can then, somebody could be allocated and somebody could create the brand and create all of the assets that required for that. And then everyone just goes and then drops down the assets that they need. So everyone's staying on brand and staying in consistent look and feel. So that's one way it could be used. Again, it could be used with the students. So if you've got a learning journey that you want everyone to complete, or you want them to have the same look and feel across certain aspects, again, you can create brands to be able to do that. So that's brands inside Express, and that's how you can then get those assets and pull them into a particular document. One of the other things that you can do, and if I just scroll down, I want to just draw your attention to this part here. Now, these are templates. Now, templates can sit within a brand, and they can sit standalone as well. I like grouping my templates in a brand because it just makes sure that whenever I'm asking somebody to use a template, I can allocate the different assets and fonts and colors that I want to be used with that particular template as well within that brand. But that's not to say that you won't have a template that you want to create that's just on its own. And that's absolutely fine to do that. You can, as I mentioned at the start of the call, you can also take a template that's already been created in Express, edit that template to suit yourself, and then make it your own template to share out with others. So that's another way that you can do that as well. And that's essentially what I done with this one this morning, actually. I took an Express template, changed it and made it my own template, and I resaved it as a new file name. And then I can go and give that out to others. And I'll show you how to do that now. So I'm just going to come out here. I'm just going to click the top left here, the A, and that'll just take me back to the home page. So I'm going to show you how you can take a template from Express, edit it, and then lock certain aspects and then create your own template. Now, I'm using a template just so that all of the assets and all the visuals are already there for me in the interest of time. But if you wanted to create, like we've just done, a blank piece of paper, so to speak, and then start to add your own stuff on there, you can do it that way as well. It really doesn't matter. So whether you want to start from a blank piece of paper and then add your own visuals to it, or whether you want to start from a template and then edit it with me, either way is absolutely fine. So either plus sign if you want to start from scratch, or if you want to come along with me, let's click on templates here. So there's literally millions of templates. So depending on what type of template you want and what you wanted to create, you could search anything. So I'm just going to search templates here now. I'm going to search a poster template. Again, it could be anything that you want it to be. It could be a poster, it could be a learning journey, or a learning journal if you wanted to do that. Now, there are other types of templates that we could use for learning journals, because you might want to create what's called a web page. But for just now, we're just going to focus on how to create a graphic. And we'll show you that towards the end. So that's a learning journal one. You might want to create a template for a course design, or a course or a module. Whatever it is that you want to create, you can search here and Express will bring you up a template for you to use. I'm going to go back to my poster one. And essentially you can see here it's found me over 51,000 different templates that I can use for the term poster. I could be a little bit more specific and say that I wanted it as a campaign poster, or I wanted it to be a event poster, whatever it is, you can search. But I'm just going to leave it as poster. And if I scroll down, you'll see that it gives me lots of different options, and I can keep going down. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to take this one here. So I quite like this poster. I like the look and feel of it. All I have to do to select that particular template is I can just click on it once and then it will open up. I just wanted, before we do that, sort of take your attention down here on the left. So the different options we've got here, we can start to drill down on our search terms here and search for different styles or the mood of that particular poster that we're looking for. The type of the poster. So do we want it to have multiple pages? Do we want it to have static templates? Do we want to have animation? Don't worry about the price, because everyone who's on this call is part of our creative campus. So you'll have access to premium templates with part of your ac.uk account. So don't worry about price. Again, region, you might want to search for a different region. You might want to just keep it as United Kingdom. So we're not having, different types of spelling. If you were to search for the US, you might have as example, the word colour might be spelled the American way instead of the UK way. So that's what the region is. It kind of searches for those different types. But I'm just going to keep this one here and I'm going to click on my Hendrik Cole. And you'll see what happens is it takes me to this option here, and then I can customize my template. So from here, essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking my template out of the Express template and I'm going to make it my own. And I'm going to customize it. So just click on customize and then it brings you into that particular asset. Now, if you've joined us for any other webinars, you'll hopefully be very familiar with this page and how to add in assets, but just a quick whistle stop tour. I'm just going to come out here for just now. Down the left-hand side is where we can add on all of our elements. Down the right-hand side here is where we can add and find all of our different layers. So if I click on there, it then will highlight that particular text format. I'm just going to come out here because I don't want to print anything. And that's essentially how the screen is set up. Along the top here, we've got some document features. So I can resize, I can go to a different theme, I can do my background color, I can do margins if I'm sending this to print, etc. But for now, I just want to show you how we can come in and start to edit this and then make it our own template. So let's say, for example, I wanted to replace this particular image. So this is a person and I want to replace him with me. As an example, I can just come in here and hit replace, and I'm going to replace, I can either replace from my brand. So again, if you've got images in your brands, you can do that from here. Or I can go and search my libraries or other photos or other brand elements, or I can replace with an upload. So I can go away and find a picture of me as an example, and then just replace that with me. And then I'm just going to make me a bit smaller. And then I can remove my background as well here. So I've just clicked on me, replace me, remove my background. So what we've essentially done is taken a template in Express and now we're editing it and making it our own. So I'm just going to go to effects and then just grey out because that looks a bit better like that. Now, if you were setting this up as a template perhaps for your students and you wanted them to create their own poster, we could actually put some aspects in here that we want instruction-wise. So we could do a little bit of a text box here. We could add in our text and say, please replace with your picture. And then we can add this in here. So you're given a little bit of an instruction of what you want your students to do. So that's one thing that you could do here. The other thing we could potentially do is start to fix items in place, because maybe we don't want them to change elements of this particular template. And that's when we can lock down parts of that particular template. So let's say, for example, we wanted them to be able to replace the picture, but we didn't want them to move where the picture is. So we can click on the image, and if you do your 3 dots here, and I'll just do that again, click on this particular image, and you'll see that there's the 3 dots here. It clicks on more. What we can do here is if you scroll down, you've got lots of different options, but there's an option to say lock, and just above that there's lock but allow image replace. So if I was to click on there, what happens is you'll see that the image and placement is locked, but I'm allowing others to replace that image. And then you can when you share that out, the image will be in the same place, but it'll allow others to put their own picture in there. So that's one way that you can lock down certain aspects. Now, let's say, for example, we wanted to have this just, rather than say nerve tour, we wanted to have this say about me poster. I'll take the effect off of this because I don't really like it. And then let's say, for example, we wanted to, sorry, take that away, take that away. And for some reason, if I clicked on the wrong thing here, yeah, it's gone and done me a little bit of a text. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go back. There we go. A bit click happy there, clicked on the wrong part. So let's say, for example, we wanted to keep this about me poster text and we don't want them to change that or edit it in any way. Again, just clicking on the text box, 3 dots, and then you can lock that in place. So that means nobody will be able to change that, and nobody will be able to change the location of it on the screen, and nobody will be able to replace the text that's there as well. So that's just a couple of ways in which you can lock certain aspects. Now, let's say, for example, we wanted to just take all that away and we wanted to remove all this. This one's absolutely fine. We want to keep that there. And again, we want to lock this. And we want to just put some instructions. Please replace with your picture. And then we can also say, please insert your name here. So we can give some instructions for this particular template, and we can be clear about what we want our students to do. And then if we just take all of these away, and maybe we want to have something here which asks them to, you know, add in a little bit about yourself. Add in some details about yourself and your hobbies. Okay, so we can just leave that so that they can edit it. And we've locked this section, and then let's just lock this back section as well. So what we can do from here now is we can then share this out in 2 different ways. We can either add it to our brand and then share the whole brand, or we can just share that particular page with individuals as well. So we can just share the template and have individuals come in and start to edit that. So a couple of ways that we can do that, and I'm going to show you now. So if you go to the top right corner of your screen, you'll see that there's a share button here. Now this just opens up this window here that gives you all of the lots of information about how you can share your brand or how you can share your template, excuse me. And I'm going to go through each one because there's a lot here, there's a lot on options. So again, like before, we can type in a name and find a name of a colleague that's part of our organisation. So that's one way in which we can share and we can start that sharing process. The other way we can do it is, again, like we were looking at the brands, we can share it with everyone in our organisation, or we can share it so that anyone with the link can have it as well. So that's another way in which we can share this particular document. Again, we've got these recommended versions or recommended options. These are the same as what we've looked at. We can make it a template here. We can do the view only link here as well. Again, down on the bottom, we've got these lots of post options. So we can save it to the cloud. Again, this is the same as the option up here. We can make it a template, or we can create a view-only link. And then here's a few other options that we're not going to cover today, but just so that you're aware of. You can share it to social, so you can share it directly to social media if that's what you were doing. And we can then just show all of the different options here as well. But for today and for today's session, we're going to make it a template. We're going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to add it into our brand. So again, I can do this in two ways. I can either click make a template here, or I can click make a template here. They do exactly the same actions. There's no difference between them. So I'm going to click make a template. And what happens is that then brings up the option for me to name this template. I can choose which brand I want to put this in, so where I'm going to house it. And then I can add different optional settings, how I want it to be shared, any notes that I want to have with that as well. So let's go and do that now. So let's call it About Me Poster Template. Can't type because people are watching me. And then we're going to save it to my demo brand because that's the one that we're using today. But just to show you that there comes lots of different options here, lots of different brands and libraries you can share it to. Again, this is a really useful one to know. You can also create a public template link. So what this means is you could create this link, and just like when we looked at the share options and it said create a link that anyone can use, it's another way that we can do it. So if you were to create a public template link, which I will do with this one, and you can all see that in a moment, essentially I can then put that out to anyone, and anyone with that link can come in and then start to make edits to that particular template. We will do that in just a moment, and I will allow you to do that. I just want to show you some of these other options first. So in terms of the optional settings, you can put a note here to help others to describe what you want it to do. So you could say something like, please use this template to complete an About Me poster telling your fellow students who you are and what you like to do. Now we could continue and explain, like swap out your picture, add in your name, like all that kind of good stuff. But for the interest of time, we'll just leave that as a note. And then what we can do is we can add in certain locks or restrictions. So again, if we wanted only to use this brand, we can come here and we can define that. We can tell the users can only pick the brand colors, or they can only pick the brand fonts. We can say that we don't want them to have access to media or other templates. So we don't want them to add in anything else apart from something from their machines. We can say that we don't want them to add in any other layers to the template, but just want to leave it as it is. So we can really lock down that particular template so that it's very restricted, or we can leave it open and allow others to do what they want to do with it. We've got two locked layers as it is. So we locked we fully locked the background, and we fully locked it said About Me poster. You can allow others to unlock it with a passcode, so that's something to be mindful of. Or you can say no users can unlock the layer, so you can really secure that document down so that nobody can do anything with it. So however you want to set it up, you've got lots of different options there. So it's just to show you that. And then what I can do is I can just click Save Template. And what that will do is that will create the template in the background and then save it to my brand library. Now, just going to come here, still creating it, so it probably won't come up just yet. But let's see if it's going to do it. Going to just refresh. So you can see that it's gone into, it's not happened yet. Still creating. There we go. So if I go in just a new tab, I've gone to here and I've just refreshed my screen. And you'll see if I come into here, my demo brand, it will be available within my templates. So that's just to show you how quick it is and how fast it can happen. But again, just to show you how we can make this a public link, I'll just go back to my share, and I'm just going to go back to my make a template, and I'm going to make this the About Me poster. And I'll just put public link so we know that we're talking about this one. And I'm going to go create public template link. And then what happens is when I click create, what Express is doing is creating that as a URL that anyone with the link can have access to and can come into that template and then start to edit it. So once it's got that, I'll put this up in the chat and then everyone can come in and have a look at that. So I can just copy the link. And you'll see what happens is I can republish your link to reflect changes. So the good thing is if I wanted to change this aspect of the template in the background, the link will remain the same and I can just republish it every single time. So just to let you know that that can happen and then I can update the link. But for now, I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to go into our screen and I'm going to pop this into the chat for you to see. And whilst I do that, I'll just pause for any questions. It doesn't seem to be any questions, so it's great. And I've seen Alistair also added in a link to how to add a custom font to your brand, which is awesome. Thanks for doing that, Alistair.
Yeah, no problem, Louise. I would say, yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to drop them into the chat and we're happy to answer any questions you've got. And maybe if you do remix the link that Louise just dropped in of that template, share that with us and drop that in the chat as well. And we would love to see what you come up with.
Yep. And then if there's no questions, I'll just, in the interest of time, carry on. One of the other key templates that I've seen being used is our web page template. And again, in true fashion, I created one beforehand so that we could see. And what I'll do is I can upload this one, and again, I can make it a public link so that you can come and remix it. But what I done for this one is I sort of created a learning journal template. So that's something that you might want to consider if you're asking your students to potentially capture their learning throughout their course. You can do this as well in this type of page format. So yes, of course, you could do it as a static image or an image with multiple pages or a presentation, but we can also do this as a web page as well. So just to show you how this shows, essentially it becomes a link, a URL link, and then it becomes something like this. Now, again, this is just a template that I took from Express, and then I went and changed some things on it. But you can do this, and again, the same options. You can click share, and then you can make this, publish it to the web, and allow others to remix it here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend just the next 10 minutes showing you how to do this. So if this is something of interest, then again, feel free to follow along with me as well. So I'm just going to go back to my home page and I'll show you how to create that from scratch. So from the home page, you can click on the blue plus sign again and then go to the web page on this dialog box that opens up. Now, I browsed learning journal templates, but again, you can start from scratch if you wanted to do that. I always find it's easier to start from something and then you can just edit it as you go along. But you can start from the learning journal and you can just browse templates. And again, there's lots and lots of different types of templates. Now, I went with this research journal template, but you can choose whichever one that you would like to choose. And then I just click select. And then that just opens it up as a web page. So all of the different elements are there and I can add or take away. It's absolutely fine, but at least you've got something to start from. And then you can change anything that you want here. So I changed this to say learning journal. And I clicked on this image in the background and I just replaced the image with something that was, a bit more higher education looking instead of primary school learning. So I came here and I think I searched for learning and I selected this one. Sorry, it was that one I selected. So you can change elements of this particular template to make it your own. And you can see here, like add student name. And then if I scroll down again, you can change this warning. So this learning journal, and then keep going and change or add different elements in. I think, Alistair, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have got a previous webinar that we've done that shows you how to sort of build and create and share out web pages. So we won't spend too much time on that today since this is about templates. But check that out, and if we don't have one, we can do one in the future. So I'm just going to name this one as Learning Journal Template, and I'll just do demo. And then once we're ready to share this out and ready to make it a template, now I should say actually the difference between this and the other type of template that we created is we're not as there isn't as many features in terms of locking things down as in the other type of template. So that's something to be aware of. If you want a bit more free flowing and you want it to be more of a kind of web page look and feel, then this would be the option. If you want to have a bit more restriction and lock certain aspects down, then you might want to consider doing either a graphic or a presentation in our other option. But I'll show you how to make this a template as well. So you can click share. Same as what we were looking at before, you can invite collaborators, so I can invite other people in, whether that be an individual in my organisation or whether that be an individual within my org or anyone with the link. But what we want to do is we want to share this and make it a template that somebody can use and remix. So what we need to do first of all is publish this web page to the web, and then we can make it a remixable template that others can remix. So when I click on the publish the link, again, I've got the title, it goes to credits. You can switch on the author name or not, doesn't really matter. If you want others to remix it, you maybe want to consider keeping that off. And then it's got here, allow others to remix. So what will happen is this will let other people make a copy of your web page, and then they can go and make it their own. So just you toggle that on. And then what that happens is it's just letting you know that people who have got premium, only people with premium can do this. But if you're part of our creative campuses, that applies to everyone in your campus. So that's okay. And again, you can add a header, footer, you can password protect it as well. So obviously we're making this like a public link. Only those with the link will be able to access it, of course. But if you want to kind of give it a little bit more security there, then you can put a passcode on it. I'm just going to leave it without the passcode, and I'm just going to go and sit and click create link. And what that'll do is it'll publish the project and then create that link that I can then share out publicly. And then anyone with the link can come on and start to make edits there. So we'll just give that a minute to do that because I want to put this up on the web page, sorry, up in the chat as well for you. So there it's published, and I can just copy that. And if I place that into the chat as well, you can go ahead and take that now as well and start to edit that and make changes to it. So again, I've taken a template that Express has given me, made it my own, made some changes, and then gone and published it and allowed others to remix what I've done. And that can be that passing on of a template can continue and continue and continue, because your student might do that and then pass it on to their fellow students as another template. So the path of the template will continue for as long as it will, as long as you keep sharing it, or you can just publish a link and it can be a produced piece of content at the end of it. So that's another type of template that you can do as well. And that's just another way in which you can share it with others. So the share button is key, and then you can make it a template or allow others to remix. Those are the two key actions that you'd be looking for. I'll just pause for any questions. And we've got a small group, so I don't know if we can allow people to come off mute, Alistair, and come off camera if they wanted to ask questions.
Yeah, if anybody does want to.
If you just put your hand up. Yeah. Oh, no questions.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, we can if you do have questions, then please just let us know. I'll just kind of summarize what we've looked at then. So we've looked at brands within Express, talked a little bit about CC libraries. So that's something that's used often by creatives and those individuals using the Creative Cloud applications. You can create a CC library and make it a brand kit inside Express. You can do that. or you can just create a brand kit directly in Express and then it just lives in Express. So with the brand kits, as we've sort of seen, what you can do is you can create and store and house different types of assets such as logos, fonts, colors. You can then create different types of templates and then save them within those brands as well for other people to use. And you can access your brands when you're developing, when you're creating within Express, just by going to the brands option and then doing that. You can actually apply, probably didn't show you that, but you can actually apply a brand to a particular asset as well that you're working on. So that'll go and grab all of the colours, all of the fonts, and just apply it across that particular project. So it's a really super way to do it if you're building something out that's quite big. So maybe you've got like a 20-page presentation. So that's one way that you can do it, and it'll apply it across that particular project. But again, you can share your brand out with others. You can bring other people into the brand and share it out, and then you can create templates and add them into the brand as well. We also had a look at creating a template that's just a public link. So again, that's another way that you can do a template as well. And we also looked at when you're creating a template on a document, you can lock down certain aspects that you don't want people to change, or you can lock an aspect and allow them to remix that as well. So just a few different ways in which you can use your templates and your brands. Templates and brands and lockable features, just for your knowledge, is being used in industry. So a lot of our agencies who are developing content across different types of organisations and want their individuals or colleagues, their agencies, to stay on brand and stay consistent, they're using Express Brand Kits for that, because they have a lot of non-creatives potentially creating social media content or creating posters or creating assets and content that's going out there. So to keep everybody on brand, often what they'll do is they'll create templates inside Express, and then they'll give them different assets and colours and logos to use within those different templates. So it is being used in industry, and it can be used across our education space as well, whether in teaching or within the professional services aspect. I know that Alistair's just posted as well our digital learning badges, so I had to take a look at them. They're micro-credential badges that just go through some of the soft skills that we've talked about today. So, some of that branding aspect, telling a story, all of that kind of good stuff. And I know that Alistair also did post as well our previous Skills Lab from last year, where we looked at digital portfolios, which is essentially the web page feature within Express. So check that out if you wanted to learn a little bit more about that. And we also do have all of our Skills Labs webinars on our 2025 YouTube channel as well. So all of our previous sessions are in our 2025 YouTube channel. And coming up in May, which will be a really good sessions to be part of, is our Adobe Education Institute. So it's May 6th to May 9th. These are virtual live sessions that are happening through the week. So if you want to register and come along to that, please do so. Even if you can't make all of the sessions live, you'll be sent all of the recordings if you register. So you'll be able to access all of them afterwards as well. So lots of links, lots of information. Suffice to say, we've got lots of information out there for you to leverage. But that said, if you do have a look through all of that and you register and you think there's still things that are missing for you, then please reach out to myself, Alistair, or Catherine, or whoever your customer success manager is, and let us know. We'll be more than happy to sort of put on a Skills Lab session for a topic that's relevant to you, or we'd be able to work with you individually if there's something a bit more bespoke that you'd be looking for. So just let us know and reach out.
Thanks so much, Louise. I think that was great. I have unlocked the camera, and Mike, just in case anybody does want to come on and ask a direct question, that's no problem. Do go ahead and do that. Otherwise, thanks everyone for coming along. The next session that we've got coming up in May is looking at AI tips and tricks in Adobe Premiere. So we're taking a step away from Adobe Express in a rare move, and we're going to be looking at Adobe Premiere. So that's going to be really interesting, because there's some incredible innovations that are happening in that professional video space in terms of AI. So that's something that would, if it's not of interest to you, do let any colleagues know who might be interested as well. As Louise said, we've posted a ton of links in the chat, probably more than you've got time to read. But we've got our Skills Labs, registration there, so you can register for those upcoming last couple of webinars that we've got this academic year. And then we have got the Adobe Education Institute coming up as well. And Catherine, my colleague, has just dropped the link for the Creative Campus newsletter. So you can get all this stuff sent to you by email, as well as just listening to us talking about it. But if there's no further questions, I will stop that there. And thank you, everyone, so much for coming along today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.